On the economy and jobs, the comeback in Australia's economy is already underway and betters the experience of most advanced economy nations in the world today. Now, Australians are now voting with their feet to join the economic recovery that is occurring here in Australia. The unemployment rate has fallen from 7.5% in July last year down to 6.6% in December. And importantly, the effective rate of unemployment that takes into account hours reduced to zero and people leaving the workforce has also fallen to now be in line with the headline rate at 6.6%, after hitting almost 15% at the height of the crisis. Almost 800,000 jobs were created in the past 7 months, and it's very pleasing to see women taking up the majority of those jobs. 90% of the jobs lost to COVID-19, as I said before, had returned by year's end. And our participation rate has recovered, and it's reached a record high of 66.2%, while consumer and business confidence has recovered as restrictions have come off, and this will be further supported by the vaccine rollout. Our task now is to continue our economic recovery by sticking to our economic recovery plan and, importantly, exercising the fiscal discipline necessary to ensure that we do not overburden future generations and continue to spend taxpayers' money wisely. We are not running a blank cheque budget. While our medium-term strategy remains to stabilise and reduce debt, low interest rates are alleviating debt servicing pressures as lower rates not only apply to new issuances, but our pre-existing debt as it rolls over. Now, because our debt is getting cheaper to service at a faster rate than it is getting larger, that means our net interest bill will decline as a share of the economy. We've got this. And as this chart shows, our $251 billion in direct economic support, unprecedented in this country, while largely delivered in 2020, it has a long tail in providing ongoing support. It's put gas in the tank. Treasury analysis has shown that our direct economic support measures are expected to result in economic activity being 5% higher in 2020-21 and 4.5% higher in 2021-22, compared to if no support was provided at all. Now, we know that the temporary JobKeeper payments and our many other supports have helped to boost families and businesses balance their balance sheets by more than $200 billion. This has been a game changer like no other we have seen in this country, JobKeeper, for millions of Australians. It saved not just livelihoods, it saved lives. There is now a large sum of money available to be spent across the economy, and that's what's going to help create jobs and maintain the momentum of our economic recovery. And that is where it needs to be right now, those funds in Australians' pockets. Indeed, in 2021, the government will continue putting more money back into Australians' pockets, keeping more of what they've earned to support their families and businesses. The low and middle income tax offset, the tax cut from 26 to 25% for small and medium-sized businesses, full expensing for new business investments, creating jobs, and our lost carryback, providing a much-needed cash flow boost for those businesses who continue to do it tough. And from today, the first round of JobMaker hiring credit claims can be lodged. It's important to remember, employment of those aged 15 to 34, as you see in this chart, remains 3.3% below pre-COVID levels, while those aged over 35 are back at their pre-COVID levels. Working through the National Cabinet in 2021, this will be a year of generational change in our skills and vocational education sector. This is a big piece. It includes $4 billion to help employers retain and take on new apprentices and trainees through wage subsidies, with support for up to 100,000 new apprentices. Our national $1 billion Job Trainer Fund is providing over 300,000 training places to help reskill workers for the COVID recovery. and a new skills agreement to provide more transparency and better link funding to actual skills needs will be done this year. Minister Cash is going to be very, very busy. We're also providing for up to 30,000 more university places and 50,000 more short courses this year. And in the Parliament, we are seeking that support for the changes we believe are necessary to help businesses get more people back into work in the post-COVID recovery for the changes we need to make to industrial relations. You know, nearly $29 billion in infrastructure investment will hit the deck this financial year and next. That includes bring forwards as part of our pandemic recovery plan, which will especially assist rural and regional communities, including our new road safety initiative, which I know the Deputy Prime Minister is especially passionate about. Investments made through the National Water Grid will add further to this effort. But our economic recovery plan, I should stress, is underpinned by something incredibly important, and that is delivering affordable and reliable energy in a way that positions Australia to be successful in the lower and ultimately net zero emissions global economy of the future. Our goal is to reach net zero emissions as soon as possible and preferably by 2050. But when we get there, whether in Australia or anywhere else, that will depend on the advances made in science and technology needed to commercially transform not just advanced economies and countries, but the developing world as well. Science and technology will, as it always has in these areas, set the pace. And in the developing world, this is important because it is in those countries that dominate the emissions horizon. In Australia, we will do this by investing and partnering in technology breakthroughs needed to reduce and offset emissions in a way that enables our heavy industry in particular, industry more broadly, jobs and living standards, especially in regional Australia, to continue and to keep energy costs down. In Australia, my government will not tax our way to net zero emissions. I will not put that cost on Australians, and I will particularly not ask regional Australians to carry that burden. Getting to net zero, whether here or anywhere else, should be about technology, not taxes and higher prices. In Australia, we're not waiting on this. We're getting on with it. Emissions fell by 3% in the year to June 20, to their lowest level since 1998, meaning we are now nearly 17% below 2005 levels. These are the facts. Now, this compares to reductions of approximately 9% on average across the OECD, 1% in New Zealand, and less than 1% in Canada. So we're not waiting. This year, our $18 billion technology investment roadmap gets going, and I commend Minister Fatala for the great job he's done in pulling this together, with a $1.9 billion commitment to develop clean energy technologies such as hydrogen, green steel and the CCS, carbon capture storage, and I'd add use to that too. And we are taking the roadmap global, pursuing ambitious partnerships with countries like Japan, the United States, the United Kingdom, Korea and Singapore. Already begun. We are implementing our multi-billion-dollar energy and emissions reduction agreement with New South Wales, and other states are following. Agreements are in place to accelerate major transmission projects in New South Wales and Tasmania, with Victoria, South Australia to follow this year. We are building Snowy 2.0. We are rolling out our $200 million program to build new diesel storage facilities. The Beetaloo Basin Strategic Basin Plan has been released. 4 more are coming. The pipeline market will be further improved this year, as will the liquidity of the Wallumbilla gas hub. All important changes. Affordable and reliable energy is also the cornerstone of Minister Andrews' $1.5 billion manufacturing strategy. Now, this plan focuses, you know, because I spoke to it here, on priority areas of resources technology and critical minerals processing, food and beverage, medical products, recycling and clean energy, defence and space. Our priorities are clear. We're investing, encouraging others to do the same. This will be backed up by the implementation of our $5.3 billion digital business plan that will accelerate 5G application development, build the digital skills of our small and medium-sized enterprises, strengthen our cyber security, as well as expanding the digital identity program. And of course, we will continue to work across government to cut red and green tape, and that includes the single touch approvals for environmental assessments with state governments that are before the Parliament